Hey guys, my name's Jen and today I want to show you how I make these DIY plant labels. Something that I look for in a plant marker is something that's going to not fade in the sun and something that I can reuse. I've tried in the past to buy the biodegradable wood ones and write on it with a Sharpie, but number one, the ink would bleed and then the wooden plant marker would actually start decomposing before I was ready to be done with the label. Let me show you how well my DIY plant markers hold up to the Florida sun. I'm going to pull this one out of the garden. It's been in the garden for months. It's still very legible. I know I chose a small text, but it's very legible, no fade and no disintegration of the actual marker material. For comparison purposes, let's pull up one of those old wooden ones that I've used. See, you can see it's actually disintegrating like it's supposed to. It's a biodegradable one, right? But you can also barely even read what I wrote. Something else that can be difficult is finding the right size of plant marker. For example, I want to label my plants while they're in their seed starting cells and then use the same label to transfer it into the garden. Now you can see here I just started some flowers the other day, and this is the Vigo Garden seed starting cell, and it's got 8 cells here, and so they're quite small. So that wooden marker that I just showed you obviously would not work for this, especially when I have the humidity dome on top. So I needed something that I could cut to size so it would fit under my humidity dome and fit in these little cells, and no fade and no quick decomposing. So the supplies you're going to need are a milk carton. I have 3 kids and 2 of them drink milk all the time, so I basically have a milk carton every 2 or 3 days. You're also going to need a label maker. I'll show you the one I have, although many different types would work. This is the Brother P-Touch D220. I'll put a link in the description box if you're interested in the exact same one. Now, I think the reason this works so well is because the tape that it's printed on is laminated tape, and it's a thermal printing technology instead of an ink printing technology. The first thing we're going to do is cut up the milk carton. And I have some that I already cut up so I could show you kind of like the size that we're going for, and notice how I'm generally trying to go with like the size of, like my pointer finger, something like that, but it depends on your application. You can make it whatever size you want. For me, when I cut up the milk carton, I try not to use the curved parts. So I'm really just trying to look at each side and and cut out a square or a rectangle to begin with. And I just cut it up with regular kitchen shears. First, I'm going to cut it into those rectangles or squares. Try to not use the rounded corners. It's still a little wet from when I washed out the milk carton this morning, so I'm going to dry it off with my towel. Now this would work obviously with if you drink like sweet tea or whatever kind of drink that you buy. Maybe it's not milk for you, maybe it's lemonade or something where you have a recyclable plastic jug. Okay, so I could probably cut more, but I'm going to omit the side that has the label. So I basically got 3 sections out of this milk carton. I'm going to throw this in the recycle bin. And then we're working with these 3 sheets. It looks like if I were to lay that pre-cut one on top. It looks like I'm probably going to get like maybe 5 out of this. And I normally will store the extras in a little bag and put it in my seed container. I'll show you that in a minute. Because sometimes I just, you know, a gallon will make more than the labels that I need for the day. You're going to want to make sure you cut them thick enough, or wide enough, I guess, for your label. You can buy different size label tapes, so you're going to have to experiment with your own label maker and the size of your label tape. The one that I have is a 12mm size tape. It's about 1/2 inch. And this is by no means perfect, but we're not looking for perfect. We're trying to just save some money because in my opinion, there's more important things to spend money on than the plant labels in the garden. If I want to buy, you know, an expensive vertical planter or a new raised bed or some high quality compost, I'd much rather spend the money on that than the plant markers. All right, so we're finished cutting up my gallon. I got several markers. So when it comes to printing them out, there's a few things to consider. You need to know what you're going to put on the label. For example, I'm planning to do some starts for broccoli, and I think I'm going to order a couple different varieties of broccoli. So what I'm going to write on my label is broccoli Waltham 29, because I want to know the variety so that whenever I have a different variety, I can tell them apart. Another thing you might want on your plant label is the planting date. Sometimes that will help you figure out when you're close to harvest time, and sometimes it'll help you figure out if something is going wrong with the plant. Like if, for example, with broccoli or cabbage, if you have no head and it's past the expected harvest time, you know, maybe it's time to just start over and try again. So when I use this one, I like to choose like the small font, and I like to write on 2 lines. I don't want it to take up too much of the plant marker because part of it is going to be in the soil, right? So I've got my label, broccoli Waltham 29. Also, consider how big you want the text. That will depend on your own preference, maybe your eyesight, or how large your markers are. I prefer the small ones. It works really well in my seed starting tray, and I don't mind having them less visible in the garden. So I'm going to do a couple different plants today. One of them is broccoli Waltham 29. I'm going to do Long Island Improved Brussels sprouts. Oh, I wanted to point out, this is another use for the label maker. I label all of my seeds with the label maker. And I do abbreviate, just whatever makes sense to you. For example, Brussels sprouts, Long Island Improved. I just left out some of the letters so it would fit better. And today is August 20th, 2024, and I plan to start these cool season crops in my seed starting cells and transplant in the garden in probably 6 weeks. So that would be the beginning of October, which is great timing for where I live. I'm in Zone 10A, Melbourne, Florida. Another great aspect of these plant markers is that they're reusable. So I've got this little container that I use for my cilantro seeds. And the last time I planted cilantro, I removed the markers from this because I can pretty easily identify cilantro in the garden. And I just put these back into this container. So the next time I start cilantro seeds, I already have the plant markers made. Let me give you a rundown of the products I used just in case you're interested in them, and I'll put a link in the description box for each one. This is a photo organizer actually that I use for my seed organization. It's got several smaller containers on the inside that fit a seed packet so you can see the full seed packet, and it contains those seeds. I also use this little stasher bag to hold my cut up milk carton. And normally the way that I store it is just in the front of this box. There's a little bit of space and it fits right there. So I always know where my milk carton cut-ups are in my organizer. This is the Brother P-Touch D220 label maker. And I actually bought this case to go with it, and it holds like 4 spare label tapes. This is the white tape, size 12 millimeters with black writing. And it fits really nicely in there. Zip it up. I keep it in my storage closet right near all of these. I hope this video inspires you to make some DIY plant labels. Maybe you'll use my same idea about the label maker and the milk carton, but in my opinion, if you can find any type of DIY method, you can save a little money on your plant makers and spend the money where it counts, like on high quality compost for your garden. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button, and I'll see you guys next time.